So good afternoon once again, grade 12. After the discussion on data analysis, where we have known the degree of error that we have committed after having obtained that amount of numeric information after doing the experimentation, then it's more or less telling you or that you are then predisposed to be ready in reporting your findings, which eventually leads to the drawing of a conclusion and lastly, the making of recommendations. So that's our third lesson for this week, which is also our last lesson for the pre-finals. And that's also the supposed last lesson found in the curriculum guide for research project. We'll just see what lessons we can add in for the finals for this semester for this subject. So to begin, we have findings. Recall your experience back in practical research 2. How did you do the findings part of your research, Joyce? Again, the question is, how did you do the findings part of the research that you did in practical research 2?
We
Yes, Majoy.
learn
Sorry. Again, Majoy.
the results.
I don't know, but I can't hear anything from Joyce. Again. Okay. I'll just try to call someone else for now. Crisel, how did you do the findings part in your practical research 2 subject?
After we did the experiment, sir, we discuss what are the outcomes.
Outcomes, correct. You talked about outcomes, results after your gathering of data. So by knowing the outcomes, by knowing the results, you are now more or less trying to accomplish the findings part. In the findings section, we are merely answering the questions that we post in our specific or in the statement of the problem. This is in practical research 2. This is in the context of practical research 2. Again, for the creation of the findings part or section of the paper, you went back into the specific questions. Then you provided answers to these questions and placed them in chapter 3. That is why you had the findings section there. Simply put, when you do the findings of the study, even in the context of our IMRAD format, you are plainly stating the results. Do we interpret results? We don't. In the format that we are doing, when you declare the results, when you state the results of the experiment that you had just accomplished, we do not put in interpretations. We do not put in anything that could try to explain as to why results turned out that way. All that we'll do is to simply state what just happened after some time or after a couple of days that you had started the experiment. Like for instance, if you had done your experiment with 14 days of curing period or 14 days for the growth of the plants, then after the 14th day, you declare what results came out. You declare what has happened to the plant, how tall the plant has grown, how strong a brick has become after 14 days. Still in the results section where we are stating the findings, we do not explain as to why the plant has not grown so tall. We do not explain, we do not provide reasons as to why the brick did not turn out to be very sturdy or very firm or strong compared to how a commercial brick is supposed to be like. We don't add in explanations, we don't interpret anything. That's just the goal when we state our findings. All that we'll do is to simply state what just happened. And now I'd like to also remind everybody that at least one pair is done with the number of days that they have just been waiting for regarding the experimentation. Just this afternoon, I have been informed that Crisel and Lexinet are already done with their 10 days observation period, and that they already are ready to take note of results. When is your 10th day? Today, Lex, or yesterday?
Yes, last day pa, sir, ay
You are on your 10th day now. Are you?
12 na ron.
Wait, again, sorry.
12.
You are now on your 12th day.
Yes, sir, pero
Ah,
nung man,
okay. So your 10th day or the last day was during the weekend. So I hope and I hope the others are already about to end their observation days, or the days that they have to consider before they are going to tabulate or take note of results. And then again, take note of results. That's what you only need to do in the results section, in the findings section. In order to discuss how things turned out to be, or why things turned out in a particular way, in a particular manner, we proceed to the discussions section of the IMRAD format. The letter D in the IMRAD format represents discussion. It is in this section where we provide an interpretation of why outcomes turned out in particular manners. Furthermore, the discussion section provides, good afternoon, Miguel. The discussion section provides a statement of the conclusion after analyzing all of these findings. Moreover, you are also going to put in the same section, in the discussion section, a recommendation or a set of recommendations that you would like to give, perhaps to the persons that you have considered to be whom you have considered to be benefited by your study, or probably you can focus on future researchers. Or it's not, let's not try to be limited only to future researchers. The recommendation section can also be, of course, given to the people who will really be benefited by your work, or to that sector where your work comes out to be a part of. Like, most of you are in the concept of doing plant related researches, so you perhaps go within the field of agriculture. To those who are into the raising of plants, then you might want to give some recommendations to them. But of course, it would also help so much if you have some things for future researchers to consider. With a thought that maybe at least one of your readers might want to consider reading and then learning from your work, or trying to replicate your work and expand your work. So future recommendations for future researchers can also be provided. Going to conclusion, to the interpretation, sorry. Though it's not there. Going to the interpretation, this is where you will have to rely on a particular literature that could explain as to why such an observation came out, or such a result came out. Let's compare this to your experience in practical research too. In your chapter 2, what you did there was to present the data, analyze the data, and you interpreted the data, which was completed by using a particular entry in the theoretical background that supported your work, the results of your work, sorry. So that's how you completed your format from last year's research. Yes, Miguel. However, this year, we don't have a section labeled as the theoretical framework or the review of related literature. We have none of that section in the IMRAD format. So what will you do? Very simple. Just put in that that citation or related literature or related study in the interpretations section. The discussion section has three subsections. You have the interpretation, conclusion, and recommendations. But that does not mean that you will really put a label. Take note, ha? I do not want to see a label which is a part which is labeled as interpretation, another part which is labeled as conclusion, nor another part labeled as discussion. No, no. recommendation. They should just really come out from how your paragraphs have been structured or crafted. Not necessarily just a one paragraph, Miguel. This is not limit your, though there are three subsections in the discussion section, it does not mean that there should only be three paragraphs. If you want, perhaps no. You might want to look for one literature to support as to why plants grew better when exposed to hydroponics. Look for a citation. And then you look for another citation to explain as to why plants do not grow so well when grown on plants compared to hydroponics. That's another citation to really specify results coming for both setups yet. O, diba? You can have two paragraphs for the interpretation section alone. So those who are trying to go with like in the case of Raisa and Majoy doing magnets, one of you might want to mention a literature that talks about the effects of magnets to a particular kind of plant. And then you found it probably turned out to be fortunate in your end that another plant belonging to that same family that you are, sorry, a plant belonging to the family where your plant belongs, petchai belongs, though different from the first literature, will be cited in the next paragraph. Let us not be limited to just one paragraph in our interpretation section. But you should have at least one entry, one literature, one study that could support or explain why results turn out that way. For instance, using the study of Raisa, another example, using again the study of Raisa and Majoy. They will probably look for a literature that explains magnets can really make plants grow. And then that has been discussed in one paragraph. Then they wanted to look for a literature that could support the comparison. Take note that the first paragraph is just to prove that magnets can really help plants grow. The goal of the first paragraph is not to show a comparison. It's not to support the comparison, but just to support the idea that magnets can help plants grow. Then the second entry that they're looking for is something that could supposedly support the idea that magnets are better in making plants grow than having no magnets at all. So the second paragraph talks of a comparison now. So two citations. And after having done the interpretation part, you'll proceed now to another paragraph which presents your conclusion. I would highly suggest that you do not anymore use words like the researchers have concluded that. I would suggest that you come to be novel or creative with your use of words, not flowery. Be novel, meaning don't stick to the old style of stating a conclusion. Add variety to the style. That to simply use words like because of these findings, the researchers have concluded that, therefore it can be concluded. These are overused expressions in stating conclusions. With the findings shown, for instance, magnets are really good how do you agents of helping plants grow. Oh, diba? That is a conclusion. That itself is a conclusion. You don't have to really overuse the expression, we conclude that the researchers no, sorry for the use of we. The researchers have concluded that the researchers can therefore conclude that. Do not overuse these lines, these words. And after doing the conclusion, you can probably have another paragraph or two or three for the recommendations. Perhaps one paragraph for the field where your study belongs, another paragraph For the future researchers, o di ba, you already have 2 paragraphs for the recommendations. So don't be limited to just 1 paragraph to discuss whatever subsection needs to be discussed in the discussions section. One final thing that could complete the creation of this format or of any research is your references. Without those references, sorry, but there are readers out there who will still question or doubt your work. There are readers who find so much value with the items that you have enumerated in the references section. Especially that they're looking for sources which sound credible, which sound really reliable in relation to the goal of doing an academic research work. Like for instance, if someone finds a citation, a reference, an inclusion of Wikipedia, for sure people will question your work. Like this, sir, College of Technology. What is this, Miguel? What is that? You're just mentioning a college. That's not a reference, Miguel. No, what I mean is that's not a reference. That's a college. So what is the reference? For sure, you didn't go to that college to get the information. So where did you get that reference from? An online source, I think. From an online source, which means that you will then have to really give out all necessary information to complete that online reference, to complete the statement of that online reference. But of course, you already have Microsoft Word to help you on that. I mean, you already did that in your practical research too. When you completed the bibliography section, you already did the part of referencing, where you had to go into Microsoft Word and type in all necessary information that could complete a particular entry in the references section. Also, thanks to the references section, we could see how recent your references are. Oh, and another thing, your number of citations, the number of citations that you have in your paragraphs in that complete research work does not dictate the number of entries in your references absolutely. It is not definite that if you have 6 citations in your research, you should just have only 6 references. Here's the thing. If you have 6 citations, you should have at least 6 references. You should even have more. You should really have more than 6 references whenever you complete researches. If you could go online and browse for online research works, you look at their references. There are just so many of them, because that's just normal when doing researches. It's rather really questionable if you have very few researches to complete an academic research paper. So the more references you have, the better. But be sure that the purpose of citing those references is not merely to complete the references section. Be sure that when you included that particular entry in the references section, you did use that to guide you in your research work. No matter how small the contribution is of that reference, it still played its part to complete your research work. Without that reference, you can't be certain whether your work could be completed or not. So give credit to whatever it is that you browsed. Give credit to whatever it is that you visited. Even if you simply read something from it and that you did not include it in the write-up that you made. For the mere purpose of simply reading from a source include that source already as an entry in the references section. What is the format for it? Microsoft Word will tell you how to do it. Does everybody still know how to do it in Microsoft Word? To the pair of Crisel, Lexinet, do you still know how to do it in Microsoft Word?
We can search. Di ba we can search it to the YouTube, sir? If
You can do it on YouTube. Yes, you can search for it on YouTube. I could recall a few of you did, yeah, from last year, a few of you manually did the entries in the bibliography section. And it really came out to be obvious. Troy, Alberto, do you know how to still do it in Microsoft Word? Troy? Troy? I can't hear you, Troy. I can't hear you, Troy. Majoy, Raisa, do you still know how to do it in Microsoft Word? The good thing with Microsoft Word is that it knows which entry it should put in uppercase, in italics, which ones it should put in underline depending on the recency of the version. Miguel Benjamin, do you know how to do it in Microsoft Word? So that I will not have to have a separate session for it. Besides, that is expected already to have been known as of this time, given that you had the chance to do that back in PR2. Nathan, I saw you do a thumbs up earlier. I think that means that you know how to do it in Microsoft Word.
APA, sir. Yeah, I think
Yes.
I tried.
The format that we'll use is the APA format. And then you look at your what is that? The format of your research works, of your Microsoft Word, the version of your Microsoft Word. It's just this simple, people. This is an empty Word document. You go to the references section. After clicking references, you choose APA. Be sure that it's APA that you have chosen because there are a lot of options in here. Choose APA. That's the latest version that I have, is the 6th edition. Then you go with manage sources. So these are the many bibliography entries that I've already stored in my computer. So these are those entries. If you decide to make a new entry, just type it in as something new. And from here, a dialog box comes out. Then you choose the type of source that you want to include. Most of you are doing websites, or if not, a document from a website. So you click document from a website. You do author. When will you choose corporate authorship? Troy, not Troy, because Troy's voice is very soft. Lexinet, when do you use corporate authorship?
If the ganong author, sir. The ganong author.
Correct. If you have more than one author, you choose corporate author. If there's just one, choose author. Then the name of the web page, website, the year that it was made, the month that it was made, the day it was made, and the URL. Sometimes all that you'll be yielded with is the year. Probably you'd be lucky enough to have the month. But what's important is that you should also have the URL expressed in this format. HTTP, www. And so on. If you want to also see all other bibliography entries, you can. But they're not necessarily as important as the ones that are found in this format. And once that's done, you click OK, and the entry gets registered here. For example, let's try to have an example. I'll use one of your names as our author. Majoy, I'll use your name, Majoy. Dolohol what comes after the family name of Dulohol will just be middle in it, will just be name initials. Marie Joyce, no? MJ. Since there's just one author, you will not click corporate author, name of web page. What's the difference between again what's the difference between a web page and a website? Nicole.
What will they do? What will they do?
Nicole.
What will they
What's
do?
the difference between a web page and a website?
For 1 month.
Yung web name of the web page, sir, is yung like yung name. Then yung
Yeah,
website is
there's
yung
also a name here,
www basta.
Nicole.
Who is Muslim here?
www dot yung ano tapos.
A website is a collection of web pages.
Are you a Muslim?
So the web page is that page that you are currently looking at from a pool of web pages found in that website. So for instance, Majoy, I'll continue typing in the web page from your website. Let's assume that, let's try to start with the website. Let's assume that Majoy has a website named as that. That's the name of the website of Majoy. And then the web page that you visited at the moment that you really, where you really got those significant information is named this way. Because the experience was just so recent, the website was created back in 2019. The month was March, 2020 March because of graduation. And then no date has been specifically identified. And then this is you could get the URL from the URL box in a browser, www.losingsomeonespecial.com. Then we're in class. Then sometimes numbers complete the URL. Majoy, I hope these information are accurate enough. And then all of these details are already there. You click OK. Automatically, it registers in the under the current list. By the way, let's remove that. Let's remove that. So the one that you completed got registered in the current list. The current list tells you of what you are ready to insert once you click insert bibliography. So if you want to know how your bibliography entry initially looks like, here's the preview. You can see the family name there, Dulohol M 2020. Wait, I'll try to, why is it M only? Wait. MJ. M.J. Dulohol M.J. So here we didn't set anything in italics, but Microsoft Word did it for us. The title, Getting Over a Classmate, is the name of the web page that you visited, retrieved from this website. And again, this was in italics as set by Microsoft Word. So you click close afterwards, and then be ready to click this. You click bibliography.
Sorry for that.
Upon clicking bibliography, you are given choices. Will you go with will you go with one named as bibliography? Will you go with one named as references, or for works cited? We'll choose references because we are going to use the term references and not bibliography. When you click that, automatically the entry comes out. Diba? And again, I've been saying this several times to my students. If you do it in Microsoft Word, you can never get it wrong. I tell you that. All that you'll do is to put in the entries here, and Microsoft Word will give everything to you. Let's assume that all of these are included in your citations. All of them, ha? So you copy them to the current list. They all appear in the current list. Then you click close. And then when you click references again, all of them come out in alphabetical order. And look, Microsoft Word did the honors of indenting it for us, doing the left hanging indent. What you just have to probably do later on is to put a space between entries. Look, oh, the entry about the Lohol, it's here. It already got to be part of the complete list. Even if the entries here are not arranged, if you look at the master list, even if the entries in the master list are not arranged in alphabetical order, the entries in the master list are arranged based on whatever way Microsoft Word feels like arranging them. We have no control on how Microsoft Word arranges them. But I tell you, when you paste your entries in the by clicking this, automatically the entries are in alphabetical order. And again, you can't get it wrong if you do it in Microsoft Word. Question so far? So on the last part of the module, you'll see there, finalizing the research draft or report, where there are 5 important things that you should accomplish. First is to proofread your works. However, if you yourselves do the concept of proofreading, there's a very big tendency that there are errors that you will overlook. Better ask someone to help you proofread it. In this case, I can help you on that. As the research teacher, I can help you in proofreading your work, especially that the works that you're doing aren't composed of so many pages. They're not necessarily long. Formatting, of course, what you have just accomplished previously are outputs based on your respective format, on your choice of a format. But by the time I come in with the format that you should follow, like the font size, the font style, the number of spacing between lines, that will have, all of these will have to be complied with. The style in the referencing, citation, it's quite, of course, agreed among us that it be at APA. Time, that is, of course, in the time doing for revisions, as well as in the submission. Then the length. Fortunately, the format we are doing is not necessarily long. I mean, you've seen for yourselves how short the researches are under the IMRAD format. Questions regarding this lesson? I intended that this discussion does not necessarily have to take long because there is something that I still have to share screen to you regarding the lesson that we had last week. And again, I already initiated something about it earlier. I'm quite at fault on what happened. How does corporate authorship look like? Corporate authorship, Miguel, simply looks like this. Apale, what are your initials? What are the initials of your name, Miguel? MRA, okay. Apale, MRA, Dulauta, okay. MK, no, L, Lexington. Dulauta L and Dulauta MKL. That's corporate authorship. Then after that would be the year. Because the moment you have more than one author, you will then choose corporate author and not just author, the author's option. Nathan, you wanted to say something, Nathan?
Sir, as a corporate author, sir, is it not et al, no, sir? Instead of...
No, not necessarily, Nathan. You'll use et al only when you have how many authors?
4 or more?
4. No, it's not.
Oh,
When
3
you
or
have
more. 6.
6. If your number of authors is still in up to this number, you will supposedly put in all of the names.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Family name, initials of the given name. So going back, there was something that I was not able to share to you. I owe this to you, though you could have identified it yourselves, but I still feel like I'm more obligated to give this to all of you. I'll do a share screen for a while, huh? Can you all see this now?
Yes, sir.
So here are the 4 derivations from the formula on percent error. If the measured value is higher than the expected or actual value, that's the formula. If the measured value is lower than the expected value or actual value, that's the other formula. Then you have the formula for actual value, and then formula for actual value if it's lower than or higher than the measured value. I felt like when you did the ST, you really got those answers by chance. Because when you got one item right, I was of course thinking that you should get the other items correctly as well. As it turned out, you did not. Then probably it's because these were not shown to you when they are supposed to be given last week as well. So I'm quite at fault on that end. What will I do with it? I'll just send this document in the Edmodo wall. I think that's fine. That's fair enough. So that you can download this file later on. Someone sent a message. Have you seen your scores already in the ST?
It's there na, sir.
Yeah, I've checked them already. What can you say about your scores?
Wait, let me see.
Huh?
My passing score.
Wait, research project. What can you say about those scores?
Small.
They are no?
It's not enough.
They're definitely not enough. So I think it's because I'm really at fault of the information that I failed to present. For a while, I'm trying to share. I'm trying to post already in the Edmodo. Before I forget this. Research project. I might forget it again. I named it as additional notes or measured and expected values formula. Okay. I've already posted it.
What's the passing score, sir?
What's the passing score? Supposed passing. What's the exam totals to? What's the score? The exam totals to 45. And but the passing score is 50%, so that's at 23. 23 is the passing score. Plus, we don't really have so many STs. So if you cannot get a good score, if your score is merely a passing score, I'm not sure if it's going to be beneficial to the overall status that you have for this for the pre-finals period. So here's what I plan to do. This week, we are going to have another ST, of course, of lesson 3, and I'll add in some items related to finding measured or expected values. So no items on percent errors this week. There are no items where you have to compute for percent error. So what's going to be the task is to identify a missing value, be it an expected value or a measured value, and then the percent error is also given in the problem, in the situation. That will be given this Friday. This Friday.
Question, sir, pa.
Yes, Rai?
Di ba there are questions na it asks for the expected value? Ano? Measured expected. Basta yung first.
The first
Ano,
one.
expected value. Yeah, then
I
there
don't
are
know
questions that
what's your
says na
first one
example
because
like
I did not put the numbers. No, I randomized the items. So your number one is definitely different from my number one. I hope, let's just do it this way. Open your Edmodo accounts, open that ST. And then let's look at the problem about the grade 7 pupil. Grade 7 pupil who measured the volume of a particular liquid and obtained a value which is 8.13% lower than the standard value of 35.28. What is the measured value of the liquid? What's the answer?
32.41 ml.
32.41 ml. Here's what I actually plan to do now. Because there are 5 items which you answered, though I did not give out the ways by which you should really answer them. So as to be fair with you, I plan on really nullifying those parts of the test, like
What
removing them.
what
Like
numbers?
I'm not again sure what numbers they are because your numbers are different from your classmates. The arrangement of the items that you have, right, is different from the items that Troy has in his Edmodo, as the items have been randomized. So I intend to remove that problem with a grade 7 pupil, the 2 students who went to the beach to obtain a particular rock sample, when Yoli measured the volume of a crystalline liquid, 2 masses were supposed to get an average of 37.98 grams, and compute the actual value, the measured value of a viscous liquid is 5.11 liters. I intend to really remove them.
OMG, so if we got it correct, then our score will be minus. I mean, our scores will be minus. We have a
Haray?
minus point. Sample, what if like I got two of those questions, two of the supposedly nullified numbers correct, sir?
No, when I remove those items, like the number of points, the total number of points also changes, man.
But my scores, for example, like I got right on that number, so it will also be
Again, Rai,
minus.
sorry, Rai, I can't hear you properly, Rai. Hello, Rai?
Okay. Chris. Chris.
Raisa?
Catholic also. Lordy. Lordy.
I can.
Answer Lordy.
Hello, Rai?
Huh? I cannot hear you, Doy. Unmute, Lordy.
Hello,
Hello, Rai?
sir.
Yes,
I
Rai.
cannot hear you.
What if like sample, diba, there were like how many five supposedly na in-affect
I can hear you.
number?
Again, sorry?
I cannot hear
But
you.
there were there were like five
Alvin.
na define mo na number.
Yes.
Alvin.
What if I got right in like two of those
What is
and
your
then
religion, Alvin?
but I also have a minus six.
What is your
I
religion?
still nullify it man, so it will not be considered correct.
All of those, whether you got it right or you did not, I just have to remove them, Rai.
My
So ano minus
religion
sense
is
sir?
Islam and Christian.
Yeah. But of course, the number of points in the test will also get reduced.
Answering from LB incomplete sentence.
So you'll have how many points, man, to be deducted? Like in your case right now, I'm looking at your exam now. You got
I will give you
6 points out of 15.
for PC and Alvin. Wow. Adriana.
Diba? You got 6 points right out of 15 points.
Adriana.
So your score now will become 21
Adriana.
because your score is 27.
Christian. Okay, next time you wear your
By the time I remove the 6 points, Rai, your score will be 21. But the exam will now total to 30 points.
Sige, sir.
Let's try to compute the percentage. 27 divided by 45. That's it. Your score of 27 divided by 45 is 60%. Oh, look right. Your score of 27 over 45 is 60%, but your score of 21 over 30 is 70%.
Okay.
Because again, the way I see it, it wasn't fair enough at that time that all that I gave to you was all that I had given to you was the formula for percent error.
Also, Kiara, I cannot see you.
When from the very start, the complete derivations of the percent error formula were just with me. I just forgot to show them last week. So that's what's going to happen. I'm still trying to figure out how to really remove these items from the test.
Eyes on your module.
Or if I could not remove them, I'll just have to really record your scores and then deduct the number of the total, deduct 15 points from the total possible score.
Follow.
And then deduct the number of points that you got from the score that you have obtained from the entire test. Like in the case of Raisana, instead of getting a 27, she'll get a 26, no, a 21 over 30, not anymore a 27 over 45. Yes, Rai?
Okay, ako sa 26.
Again? No, not 26, not the 26.
Anitos.
26 over 50, Rai.
Isem. Ako Sandawa.
Let's try to look at another classmate.
Muhammad.
Like in your case, Miguel.
Jesus Christ.
In the case of Miguel,
Maknungan.
he got one
Maknungan.
item right. So your score, Miguel, will now be 23 over 30 instead of 26 over 45.
Buddhist. Anime.
26 over 45 is equivalent to 57.78%, while 26 over 30 is equivalent to 86.67%.
Can you read number 1 of 51, Miguel? Please read Miguel. Go.
Why am I being called by Ma'am LV, sir?
No, there's another student.
Can we get plus points, sir, for those who got it right?
No, not again.
Is it Bible?
If I were to really evaluate it, your classmates got them right by chance. Because if they really got one item supposedly right, and if they followed the correct formula, then they should have gotten all of the items right. I mean, you should have all gotten the items right.
Quran is the holy book of the Muslims.
If you just, for the purpose of also knowing the answers, that problem, if you're looking at your Edmodo pages right now, the problem about that grade 7 pupil, the answer is 32.41 ml. The problem about those two students who went to the beach to obtain a particular rock sample, the answer to that is 16.78 grams. The problem about Yoli is the answer is 27.36 grams. Ano, ml. For the two masses that were supposed to be at an average of 37.98, the answer is 39.78 grams. For compute, the actual value of the measured value is 5.11 liters. The answer is 5.86. Questions. Nathan has a request. For a while, Nathan has a request. What's Nathan's score if points are reduced? Your score, Nathan, is 26 over 45. Just like Miguel's, that is equivalent to 57.78%. Removing those items, you got 2 items right. So your score will be at 20 over 30, which is equivalent to 66.67%, higher by 10. 66.67 is higher by 10 points compared to 57.77.
Where is your module, Gwen?
Questions? Other questions?
You read lagi number 1
So on Wednesday, we are going to try solving for problems where you have to identify missing values. You're going to determine the missing value. You're going to give me the computation given that the formula are already with you. During the QE, I just have to also say this ahead of time. During your major exam, there are 20 computational problems that you'll have to finish. 10 of which deal with percent error. The other 10 deal with finding the measured value or the expected value. Oh, not 10, 15. 10, 15.
Thank you, PC.
Let me double check.
Well, if I will call Gwen, you will not read. Well, ako, I called Pero.
However, you will not be bringing any formula card with you for the QE. No formula cards during the QE.
If it is wrong, you will write W. So,
okay. 20.
correct or wrong? We will not talk to
20 word problems, 10 regarding percent error, the other 10 for missing measured value or expected value. No formula card. The only students who will use a formula card in my subjects are Nathan and Nicole in business finance. For research project, you just have to really memorize the formula. The formulas aren't that difficult anyway. It's just a matter of using the right operation. Be careful with the operation because subtraction and addition are to be used depending on what the situation is. If the percent error tells you that the value is higher or lower than the other, that's where the operation comes in. Anyway, for what I have added, yes, it's like that, Rai.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask kanina. So what is it? I was using just the original formula. You can really get man the answer by just
that's computing it by chance.
Yeah, that's what when I was confident it's always lower man, but I tried the opposite sample. Like I minus this amount to 1. I minus the different I basta ako siyang gi-add.
That's getting it by chance.
Oh, now I know.
But that's what I meant when I told you that I was really at fault because I forgot to show them to you last week.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you today, son. Okay.
Because when a value is like when a particular let's try. For sure you have your calculators with you. I'll try to put in a sample problem in the chat box and then you tell me what the missing value is. There. I said it privately to Nathan. Nathan, why would you? Because of these private messaging. It's supposed to be sent to everybody. There. That's the problem. A rock was measured at 6.11 grams and was identified to be 2.14% lower than the standard value. Compute for the standard value. So you go back to the formula, look for the formula that tells you on computing the actual value. Okay, it's there. And then you decide which one you'll use because depending on the formula, the operation also changes. It's stated that the measured value is lower than the standard value or actual value. Standard or actual value, they're the same. Which means that the actual value is higher than the standard value. So you use the last formula. What's the measured value? That is 6.11. Then your denominator is, this is so math. Percent error is 2.14% to be divided by 100%. Oh my God. Nawa ang computation. 6.11. 1 minus percent error is 2.14.
5.98
Wait,
grams. Okay, ma.
2.4. What's your answer, Rai?
5.98.
Wait. Something's going wrong with my calculator. I still cannot finish it for a while. 6.11
Over 1 plus 0.02.
What is the measured value? Percent error, 2.14% over 100%.
Sorry.
What's your answer, Rai?
5.98.
Why is it at 5.98?
Wait, sa alias, sa calculate.
It's not at
6.20
5.98.
6.24 ako, sir.
It's 6.24. Take note, Rice's answer of 5.98 does not match the situation. Because accordingly, the rock is lower than the standard value, which means the standard value should be higher than 6.11 grams. And the answer is 6.24. If you want to double check, use the percent error formula, and the percent error should be equivalent to 2.14. Let's try, ha? 6.24 minus 6.11 divided by 6.24 times 100%. The answer is, because I rounded it, my answer.
Magalang hapon, Teres.
Without rounding it, you'll really reach a 2-point-something% error. So again, be careful. The operation dictates, or that's the answer, right? The operation dictates. That's the situation in the problem dictates the operation that you should follow. So be very careful on this one. On
What's the answer?
Wednesday, this again, sorry.
What's the answer? 6, sir.
6.24 grams.
Do some reading of your story there. While waiting.
So on Wednesday, this is what we'll do. So that will be all for now. Goodbye and thank you, grade 12. Nathan and
Goodbye
Nicole,
and thank
see
you,
you in
sir.
organization
Sim.
management.
Goodbye and thank you.
Goodbye and thank you.
Bye and thank you, Sir Sim.